All right, everybody. Welcome again. Another week. We're here with my good friend Andy Gagliano from Gagliano Mortgages. How you doing, Andy?
I am well, Tony. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and especially because I'm enjoying this weather. It's getting cold, it's getting chilly, and I love it.
Finally starting to cool off a little bit.
Yeah,
So we'll see
that's
if it
very
sticks.
that's a good thing for me. I love cold weather. Anyway, Andy, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I'm going right now into a situation where I have a seller of a property, and um, he lives here in another state, which is not a problem. But right now, he is in another country and he is not coming back anytime soon. So we got the buyer. I represent the seller. We got the buyer and everything. We're ready. They ready to purchase the property. It's going to be a cash purchase. But because he is in another country, he needs to do a video notarize the documents. It's a way that other states do. They get into a Zoom call and they check all the identities and everything. I believe that's what they do, and notarize electronically the documents. Most of the states don't have a problem with that, except Alabama. Here we are very special, and Alabama did not accept that type of notarize. They did in the past during the pandemic when we have COVID, because obviously some people couldn't go out and do the in-person notarize. So we're running into that problem. One of the options we have is he has to go to the embassy in the country where he at and have a notary over there at the embassy to notarize the documents for him and everything. But some embassies you have to make an appointment, and that can take 2 to 3 weeks, a couple days. There's also another way to do it. He can give like a power of an attorney, and but he is not happy because he been selling some of his property. Actually, I sold a couple of his property, and he was on the impression that he was going to be able to do it via Zoom, but unfortunately, it's not going to happen this time. So right now we're working on it and see what we're going to do. I'm probably going to get him and convince him to go to the embassy and set up the appointment and get it done real quick. We have in that situation. I just want to let people know, that we encounter not every transaction is easy or it's a walk in the park. It's not. We always encounter, especially when we have one of the parties, one of the clients from another state or even from another country. It's getting a challenge, but it's going to get done. So probably by next week, I'll let you know what we do.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear how that one plays out. We in the mortgage industry talk about deals that have a little hair on them, meaning they're okay. They just all of a sudden got to be not so appealing. Imagine, you pull the top bun off your hamburger and it's got a little hair on it. It's not quite as appetizing anymore.
Yeah.
But it's okay. So it seems like so many deals right now have a little hair on them. And it's not that we can't overcome those obstacles or those challenges as they present themselves. It's just sometimes we have to pivot and, may mean we have to do a little bit more work. It may mean we have to get a little bit more creative in how we structure things and get things done. But yeah, I don't know why Alabama does this. It's just like you said, it was okay for a little while to have remote online notarization, and the governor even passed a bill to make it illegal. To make it legal. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And the state legislature approved it. So why is it not okay anymore?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Why don't we keep it?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand why that is, but I guess maybe we're trying to. I'll probably regret saying this in a video, but I'm going to say it. Maybe we're trying to protect attorneys' fees. Maybe we're trying to protect notaries' fees. I
Well,
don't really understand why that is, but
I don't think so, because I mean the attorney's still gonna charge their fees. It's
Mhm.
like
Right.
when they do the mail out, they hire some notary, let's say in California, to go to see the client, and they pay the $220, which is the charge that I've been seeing. And it really, to me, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
We need to go and update ourselves. Alabama needs to do better than that, and
Yeah.
we're in the 21st century now. Please.
Well, and so I'll say this. You're exactly right. And until people like you and me start to try to get something in motion to make this permanent and to make this happen, we're just going to get status quo. So it's going to be the same forever. So
Exactly.
what are we going to do, Tony?
I
We'll
think we
grab
got to go
get our
go
picket
into
signs.
into the political sphere and go knock some doors down there in Montgomery. But problem is actually what they said is the title company will not insure title. It's not much that uh, that the people is not here in the state. Just title say they don't, but it's my understanding some of these title companies are nationwide, so why they are allowing it in some other states and not here. I think that's where we need to look into it more a little bit into
Yeah,
the title. But until then, we got to play by the rules.
very true. Everything's got to be legal because you don't want to force a transaction like this to happen and then something come up down the road and papers have either got to be re-signed or you find out the deal's not done.
It's not good, exactly,
Yeah,
and it's everybody's license in place. Closing attorneys, real estate agents.
very
If
true.
it's a transaction with a mortgage, the mortgage banker, the loan officer also is it can become a mess. And we already have a lot of messes in the real estate industry lately, so we don't need more. Now, Andy, I something curious about it, and as like everybody else know, and we're not gonna get strictly political into it, but we just have the elections. We got the person who won the elections.
Mm-hmm.
One side is happy, one side is sad. Some others are about to leave the country, so they say. So I'm waiting for them to call me so I can sell their homes.
That's right.
But it's interesting that the federal government, they got together and lowered the interest rate again. And we already talked about it a few times, and a lot of people start understanding. But here we go again, and we got agents that they should have been doing these start telling interest rates are low. Now is the best time to buy. Now is this and that. I don't think they understand the concept when the feds lower the interest rate, and they don't understand that it's not necessarily directly affecting the mortgage rates. In fact, I checked this morning, and since they announced that, the interest rates went a little bit up. Not much. We're still under 6.7, 6.8. That's what I saw today. Uh, but it just amazed me that these people is still, to me, the way I see it, they're misleading the consumer
Yeah.
about the mortgage interest rate. What do you think about that, Andy? Again.
Yeah. I think it's okay. So this happens in a couple of different ways. There are some who do intentionally mislead.
Yeah.
They know they've been in the business for a long time. They know that the Federal Reserve, what they do does not directly affect mortgage rates, but yet they're trying to capitalize on look, it's the best advertisement there is out there. Hey, the Fed has lowered rates and it's on the news, so it's quote unquote credible. As credible as we might think the news is.
Yeah.
And so when the average consumer hears that, they think, well, rates have dropped. And these either realtors or mortgage people, they know the rates didn't necessarily drop because of that, but they don't want to tell the consumer that, hey, the Fed doesn't control mortgage rates. So even though the Fed lowered their interest rates, the Federal Reserve rates, that does not mean that mortgage rates necessarily went down. And we indeed have seen that the past couple of Fed decreases. We've seen mortgage rates go up
Yeah.
because of it. And, or I should say, not one of them was because of it, but the other one was also just a lot of the political considerations have caused mortgage rates to go up. So there's a lot going on right now with mortgage rates. Mortgage rates are extremely volatile still. We had gotten to a period where rates had calmed down a little bit, and I was enjoying it because it was kind of like, hey, this is nice. I don't have to quote someone an interest rate today, tell them, hey, if you want to lock this interest rate in, I need to know by 9:30 tonight so I can get your interest rate locked. Otherwise, you're not locked and you'll be subject to whatever happens to tomorrow's rates. Well, they don't get in touch with me for one reason or another. Tomorrow's rates come out, and guess what? They're higher.
Yeah.
So then I get that whole, well, can't you just lock me in at that rate from yesterday? I'm like, can't we just go back to what grocery prices were in 2019? No, we can't.
Exactly.
I would love to, but we just can't do it. And so that's kind of what's going on. Rates are very volatile. And I'm going to say this one more time. It seems like you and I talk about this every time we do a video. Buy a house when you're mentally and financially ready.
Correct.
Don't worry about the interest rates. And I know it sounds just like I can see myself. Gosh, how long have I been a homeowner now? 30 years. I could see myself 30 years ago saying, oh, sure, that sounds very easy to say because you already own a home. So you don't have to worry about the interest rates. Well, that's true. But I do worry about them because I'm in the business every single day.
Right.
And I want all of my clients to get a very low rate, something they're happy with. But what I don't want them to do is I don't want them to miss out on an opportunity. And that opportunity is to buy real estate at today's prices because tomorrow's prices are going to be higher. And so, just think back to the stock market 4 years ago was much lower than it is now. The stock market 8 years ago was much, much lower than it is now. If you'd bought then, you'd be sitting pretty right now.
Yeah.
Same with Bitcoin. I mean, hey, we could have bought Bitcoin at a penny.
Yeah.
But we didn't. Or those of us who did probably have already sold it when it hit $1. You thought, my gosh, it's now worth $1. I bought it for a penny. Why not?
Or the Apple stocks. I remember when Apple stocks were less than $100.
Yeah.
I do remember that. And look at them now,
Yeah. And so, the reason I bring in these other things, and, you mentioned Apple, I mentioned Bitcoin, just the stock market in general, is because those are things I think the vast majority of people can relate to, because a lot of people see a home right now as being unobtainable. And that's sad to say, but a lot of people do believe that that's the case, especially the ones that haven't talked to you and me.
Exactly.
If they talk to you and me, they would know better. But most people have some sort of investment account these days, whether it's Robinhood or it's a 401k. So they've seen these things increase in value. And so it just goes to, to kind of drive that point home of today is the day to buy. Tomorrow's the day to enjoy the fact that you got it at today's price. And then let's worry about what interest rates do 6 months, 12 months from now. And I really do believe that sometime during the first quarter of 2025, we're going to see these mortgage rates come back down, and people are going to be much happier about where mortgage rates are at that point in time. But you're going to be paying more for a house, and you're going to have more competition for that house at that point in time because there's going to be more buyers out.
Exactly.
Because rates are going to be lower and because the spring market will be here. So,
And that's what I like what you just mentioned, at the beginning. Let's say if you to buy a house right now, you have to be mentally and financially ready. Simple as that. I put them in other words. If you can make the payment and it's not going to hurt you financially, get into the house. Don't worry about the interest rate, because the price is going to go up. It's going to be more competition. And I don't have a crystal ball per se, but I look at the numbers. I've been following the numbers. I've been following the trend on the numbers and everything. And there's nothing there that tells me that prices are coming down.
right.
Not all. In fact, in some areas, the equity on the homes went up 10%, 14%. We've seen some numbers. We talked about those numbers before. So it's definitely, people need to look into that. Be mentally and financially prepared. And the other thing that you mentioned also that I like it is lock into the rate. It's not as simple as it sounds. Also, let's clarify that. In order for you to lock into the rate, you have to be under contract in the property, right?
Right. That's correct.
So, it's not like you're going to apply for the mortgage and you're going to tell Andy, hey, Andy, lock my rate right now because that's what I like. No. Is how much you can afford, what your payment is going to be more or less based on the qualifications that you have, based on what Andy has told you. And then we find the property, we put the offer right away. And if we win it, you like that rate. It got the pros and cons what we talked before. But, that's the way it is. That's the way it works.
I mean, I had this conversation with a group of professionals just last week. We were talking about home prices, and one of them he came up to me and he said, I have a nephew he makes very good money, and he's 30-ish years old, still is living at home with his mother not because she needs the help or she needs assistance with her living, just because it's easy for him to do that. And he's the CFO of a company.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't own a home. And he said, I look at myself, and if I'd not bought a house, 20 years ago, right before or right when I was starting my family, I look at it now and I think, my gosh, I would have left a tremendous amount of wealth on the table. And so I shared with him the story of me when I was shopping for my first house. I looked at a house in Homewood. And for those of you not from Birmingham, Homewood is a suburb of Birmingham, just to the south of the city limits of Birmingham. And it is a very high demand area. It has, as long as I've been in the mortgage business, it has been a very high demand area. This house I looked at was $82,500, 1995. And I didn't buy it because it needed about $15,000 worth of work done to the kitchen and one of the bathrooms to make it truly livable. And I didn't have the cash to do it.
Wow.
Today, the dirt that house sits on is worth about $450,000, and I could have bought the dirt and the house for $82,500, put another 15 in it, been in that house for under $100,000.
Yeah,
I didn't do it. So you can't go back and take advantage of those missed opportunities. You have to take them today and take what it gives you. And, if I could, I'd go back and buy that house then, and I would find $15,000 from somewhere. I mean, if I had to
Oh,
go
definitely.
sweep
Try
streets,
to find the money.
yeah, if I had to sweep streets or cut grass or whatever to come up with that 15 grand, I would do it.
Yeah,
You know,
and one of the thing is because back in the day also we didn't have all this information that we have now, Andy. And to be honest, also some of the professionals back in the day, they care more about closing the transaction than anything else, than educating the consumer.
right.
We've been getting all this education lately, and thank God for the internet and San Google, as I call it, but that we can get all that information and we are more educated about it. But still, we got some individuals that misleading people in. And I agree with you. I mean, Homewood right now is here in Alabama is you don't find anything less than 300, I believe. And I will probably bet my next commission check that you don't find anything less than 400 ready to live in, just
Yeah.
to move in and
Yeah.
be done.
Yeah, it's very true. And just to finish that whole story out, I didn't buy that house. I bought a different home, and I bought, well, several different homes since that point in time. But and I've done well, you know, because of owning a home. I've built some wealth because of that, and you know, not that kind of wealth if
Yeah.
I bought that first house, but yet, it just goes to drive that point home that today's the day. It really is. If you mentally, financially are ready, today is the day.
Absolutely. I agree with you. You are financially and mentally ready. I like the way you put it, Andy. Better words than mine. Today is the right time to get into a home,
Yeah.
not to worry about the interest rate. Just worry about make sure that you are able to make the payment and you're not going to be financially hurt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how I see it. Well, Andy, thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I got to get back to see if how am I going to solve that situation with my client that is in another country.
Yeah.
I
Good
had a
luck with that.
situation like that before. The guys were in Israel, and I totally forgot that Alabama didn't allow to do that. But what they did was they were able to go to the embassy like 3 months later or something like that, 2 weeks later, rather, and gave a power of an attorney to somebody here in the state to sign for them so they won't have to run into that situation again because they weren't coming back to the state anytime soon.
Right. Yeah.
So that's great. Andy, anything else you want to add on this?
That's it.
Perfect. Well, Andy, if people want to get qualified and pre-approve and know how much they can afford to buy in a home, how can they reach you?
I can be reached at 205-979-4412 extension 1. How about you, Tony?
Well, people, if you get qualified and everything with Andy, just call me right away, 205-370-3248. And I guarantee you, I promise you, I'm going to be working hard for you together with Andy, hand to hand. We're going to guide you. We're going to make sure you get the best deal possible for you, your pocket, and your family. So thank you very much, people. Any comments? I appreciate it. Just let us know. You have any questions, real estate related, mortgage related, just put them down on the comments and we're going to answer you guys as soon as we can. Probably we'll make a video about those questions that you guys have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Andy,
that'd be fun.
Thank you very much again. I'll
Thank you,
see you
Tony.
next time, my friend.
Sounds great. Have a great week.
You too. Take care.
All right. You too.